Oh hey! Oh hey! Are you here, perhaps, for pixel art? That's great, because I am as well. My name is Vollmondsekunde, and in the name of moon and kindness, let's do some art. There's something so nostalgic about Pokemon. And it's not just because I'm a typical millennial, right? It's because the old games were in this very charming style, this pixel art style, as many other games of that time and before that were. Lots of indie games nowadays do play around with pixel art. That is the go-to style that indie game developers have come to make their games look interesting or old school. And it's not just Pokemon or the Zelda games or many of the other Game Boy games, but it's like JRPGs. The first games were like a wild mishmash of styles, right? And in a lot of ways, they were not pixel art because they chose to. That was simply the limit of the medium. They only had so many pixels to go around, right? So making the most out of every pixel on screen was what made the art great and how they capitalized on everything that they had. Nowadays, the idea of pixel art is a different one. We try to go back to the old times. It's kind of a little bit as if an oil painter, it's kind of a little bit as if we have a modern artist painting with oil paints. We have, as a society, moved onwards, right? We have developed newer techniques, acrylic paints, watercolor, everything since then, has evolved. But there's still a charm to the old masters, to the oil paintings. And one of the reasons for that is because it is a certain style, a certain prestige. And the same can be said for pixel art. Now, I fell into wanting to do pixel art for the last few months, and I had, oh my gosh, no. I had so much fun, but it was also a little bit of a hassle and tiny bit hard to do at times. So how do you start with doing pixel art? What is the best thing to do, right? I want to share with you my techniques of how I fell into pixel art, what I did, and the art that I did, because I think it would be kind of a great experience for both of us. And also because I think it would be kind of nice if you also wanted to do pixel art, right? For example, I'm working on a tiny little bit of things because I wanted to do a game, a very tiny jump and run game, right? Like a very simple 2D platformer. But I also just enjoy doing character art and sprites in general. I find that is such a nice, fun thing to do. And I hope you enjoy the art. I hope we get to the journey. So pixel art has lots of advantages and also a lot of disadvantages. One of the advantages of pixel art is the stylization. Because the simpler and more cartoony a drawing is, the better or easier it is to have empathy with it. The more you see yourself in it rather than a depiction of something else, right? Which is why we love the goggly eyes on objects, because it's just so simple to make them into like very simplified object creatures. It's like a shortcut to human empathy. Back when I was just a little kid, I used to play on neopets.com. I know, an ancient website. And I was under 13, which was, at that time, the age that you had to be to, have a username on there. So I was there illegally. I know, I was such a rascal. And one of my favorite things to do was to screenshot the fairies and then draw over them in MS Paint. That was technically pixel art. So I wanted to do pixel art, and I have been for the last couple of months, obviously. But it's not super easy. I'm no concerned ape. So I tend to, in a very neurotypical way, jump from one project to the next.
I don't have enough time to say the things I want to say, to do the things I want to do, or to be like you.
because that's just who I am as a person. So what is some easy pixel art to start off with? Let's go there together in part 2.
Hello. So for this segment here, I wanted to look at all the pixel art that I have found in my folder, and I'm going to be honest, I need to zoom in on some of it because I did not save everything scaled up, so some of it just will be blurry, and I apologize for that. So this is the very first thing that I do last year, 2023, trying to get a sense of scale, a sense of perspective. As you can see here, this is a top-down view because I kind of like that idea of a top-down view for my self-sauna.
Okay, so this is editing moon here. The bad news is I ranted for half an hour about my pixel art because I wanted to show you, where I started, what I did, and went through every little bit and piece, and I thought it was great, but I get carried away when I talk about my own art, something that I forget that I do every time, but it is what it is. So I don't want to make this video too long, so I'm just gonna put here I guess some highlights or something. The important part is, where would I start if I were completely new? I would, as you saw in the last part, start with just drawing simple objects in a very small scale. Think of this as items that you can pick up, quest items or something. Apples, fruits in general, pens, papers, flasks, or of whatever, fantasy, potions, stuff like that. Start with simple objects that you would think are inventory item systems, right? And then I would do characters, because that's what I did. The first pixel art that I did was actually top-down view of my character, because I thought, that's easy. And then maybe going a little bit into tiles. But that's how I would start, how I did start. And yeah, I'm gonna give you a little bit of the half an hour, me talking too much. And then we're gonna jump into the next bit where I'm just talking about other stuff. Mostly about, some things. And I'll probably try and put the whole discussion of everything that I did at the end of the video. I don't know yet. Planning is I'm doing, basically, right? Okay.
This is some commission art actually for Skelly at the time. Here, this is the better version because it's not getting zoomed in pixely. And basically he wanted to have a turnaround with his character, so I tried 2 styles, one more chibi, one more, I guess, unchibi. Still a little bit stylized, right? And then this is the very rough turnaround sketch. So just a half turn and then duplicating it. And here you can see me doing just the first part of the body. By the way, I have had multiple people comment on, why is it turning blue? Well, it's turning blue because it's turning away from the viewer, basically. I thought that was kind of sweet, because otherwise the details here, everything is black. This character, while I did him in grayscale, is supposed to be black and black and black, except for the stuff that is in neon. So or in using lights. So I thought we cannot have that, otherwise you cannot tell anything apart. And to make stuff more easily readable, I made it turn blue, but people didn't like it. This is a better quality turnaround. This is when I first did the first side. I was very proud of this. You can see that I even tried to do the light here hitting the hair, right? I thought that was kind of sweet. Here's the first turnaround. here's with the slide changes. These are color changes because there should be a colorful version, which is just every, yeah, this one here. Ooh, look at that, a rainbow. I was so happy about that. This is the version that I like the most, right? With the colors as I prefer them. This is when I did the same kind of thing with my own character, trying to like, I also just took the same dimensions because I liked them. And I felt like, oh, this is a good style. Let's do this for my own character. So I did the front and the side view basically first, trying to see like, yeah, I think this is a good design. The walk cycle for the character for my game. Oh yeah, and by the way, we have the top-down view, but we also have a side view because basically I thought levels should be in the side view and top-down is like for the overworld, right? This was the first iteration and not in the correct order. This is when I adjusted it to be in my actual walk style, right? And this like quite further along because you can see that the head is turning. Right at the beginning, this was very simple. This one here has even more of a turn. I really like this. The strut is really strutting. You can really see the comparison here of this, I guess, normal walk cycle on the right and the more personalized walk cycle on the left. I kind of like that. I think you should have as much fun as possible with walk cycles, right? This is Kite. So Kite is a YouTuber, streamer, and I think I really like his content, but also he's like a friend of mine, and this is just like his character in some nice pixel art. So I only wanted to do like a front and a sidewalk, right? But then I had too much fun with this, and I added a lot jump, and then I had to like edit, edit the backside walk cycle, and also just him having like a little nap, falling asleep.
So I am not a pixel artist. I don't really draw that much. I'm more of a painter, right? I tend to like call my art style cozy impressionism, you know, very idealized, cutesy stuff. And that's fine with me. I freaking love it. And while I have dabbled in other stuff, like I've done some band art, I've done some animation. Obviously, you've seen the animation in the beginning of this video, and I hope you enjoyed that because freaking that took me ages. And stuff like that. And as I mentioned, working on my little game, doing pixel art here and there, I want to show you like art, obviously, that I have done, because I'm very proud of my art, of my art and my journey so far. But I also wanted to like take this opportunity to talk about the difficulties. So I am more like a painter. I don't draw. I use color and shape rather than lines, right? And I started with a linear perspective, but I'm really good with like aerial perspective, stuff like that. So landscapes are always easy for me, as is a cutesy style and the furry style, because yes, I am one of those people, and stuff like that. So there's my personal problems with pixel art is I don't know what to do with textures because I'm used to a very large canvas. I'm used to traditional paint as well as digital paint, where I have like lots of texture, lots of pixels to work with, right? And the things that I started with as well is limited color palettes. I love freaking the most colors possible. So I didn't even attempt to do limited color changes except for these very few pixel portraits that I did. These were tests to see if I could do them, and I didn't pick like a limited color palette. I picked colors as I went. because that's what I always do. And I cannot limit myself to a color palette and then work with it. It just doesn't work with me. I'm terrible at it. So to not make it harder for myself, I felt like, you know what? I'm struggling already with pixel art. Let's not do the limited color palettes. But that's not to say that limited color palettes are not good. A lot of beginner artists actually love them more because they force you, they have like the values already built in. If you have a good color palette that has been, you know, done by a professional artist, then you will have an easier time working with it rather than picking your own colors. But I personally think that colors are the main thing that I can point to and say, this is my style because this is my color palette, right? So I didn't want to do that. And the other things that I struggled with, as I said, is line art. My pixel art doesn't always have line art, and that's good because I didn't want to use it. And I also have a lot of things that I call implied detail, which is when you do textures and, you know, very vague shapes, sort of, to imply that there's a detail rather than actually detailing something. Like I can paint a tree, for example, very quickly by implying interesting brushwork through brushworks my leaves here, and I don't have to paint all the leaves themselves, kind of like here, you know. And that's kind of the thing. I think there's something about like implied texture that's a very Bob Ross way of doing it, obviously, right? Using implied texture. But pixel art is a little bit different because you have like so few pixels left, and it's mostly about specifics. And also it has to be stylized in a certain way because you don't have enough space for expressions and stuff like that, right? And I struggle with anything that's not super cartoony or like semi-realism, like the stuff in between. That's very hard for me. Like super cartoony, that's fine. Semi-realistic, that's also fine. Like almost, I try sometimes to go more and more into realism to like expand my horizon. But the things in between, especially things that anime does, is super freaking hard for me. You know? Okay, so those are my downfalls. Now, I realized when I've been doing this, doing pixel art, I realized that pixel art makes animation easier. And I would have never guessed it because I struggle so much with animation because I'm not for clean lines at all. And I'm also not for a lot of other stuff that animation needs, which is, you know, animating on arcs and stuff. But because pixel art has like so few pixels, a lot of times you can also get away with less frames. And that's so good. I love it. Just kiss. Thank you, pixel art. Thank you so much. I have not figured out how to do textures probably in a good way in pixel art, but you know what? I'm taking my loss there. I'm just like, textures and pixel art, that's not my thing. So yeah, that's that. I kind of really like the way that I did everything in my weird pixel art journey. So I hope you enjoy the examples, and I'm also going to like put everything in here so we can see that. But the real struggle for me is that I have not finished my game. I cannot show you much of it. Obviously, I have done like lots and lots of art for it, lots of sprites, lots of work, but I'm new to programming and it's taken a lot of me, and I've taken like 2 months of absence because of getting stuck on a thing and then, you know, not getting the ball running again. So that's really frustrating.
Get your fucking ass up and work.
But what I can tell you is that motivation is like a fickle thing. And sometimes what I worry about is, what is it even for, right? Like I'm doing pixel art because I want to work on my game, but also why do I want to make a game? What is the story going to be about? And in general, I struggle with purpose. I struggle with purpose of this YouTube video. You probably know more about Pixelart than I do because that's not hard to do. I just paint stuff that I see and I'm like, okay, what about this? What about that? You know, I keep iterating things. I do the first version and then I do the second version and then the third version. That's how I work. I don't do like one version completely perfect. I do multiple iterations. This is something that a lot of character designers do. And that's beside the point. The point being is that what is the motivation behind art and what is the motivation about stories? And take it away, Moon.
Okay, now the video is long enough as is, so we'll talk about this next time. How about that? Does that sound nice? Of course it does.